Students are scattered all over and they're coming online at different times, how to help them feel unified and that we still are a part of a class. And also, I'm going to share with you about a particular blogging challenge that would allow students to connect with other teachers and students all over the world. And this happens twice in a year, and it's free. And if you don't have a computer in a classroom for each student, that's okay, because one person can use the computer and you can share information too. So my objective for you leaving this course today is to be able to say the 3 ways that you can use blogs in your classroom, or to be able to speak about them or to entertain them, and maybe even dare to try them in your teaching. Okay, so moving forward then to our first, again, when I imagined blogs, I thought of something like this with pictures and words and poetry, and it would be really easy. And I started to research, well, then where can I find a blog? Because maybe I don't know anything about them. I hadn't actually written them before. And there are many blog sites that you can choose out there. There's Weebly, WordPress, Wix, many different kinds, but many of them had a price tag attached to them. And I, as a teacher, really was not willing to, or was not able to pay money in order to have my blog. So then, because I was just Googling education and blogs and looking for information too, it turns out that there are other educators who are also interested in something similar. And in fact, they have something that is called EDU blogs. EDU blogs. So this is now, hopefully you can see it on your screen. I hope that I'm being correct in my screen sharing. I'm gonna look and see what your comments might be here. I see we have 8 comments. Computer switched off, 11:59, the same is going on with me. I cannot assign. Okay, so just some other issues. Hopefully for the rest of you, you're able to follow along and see this blog with me. Making sure that my internet connection is fine. Yep, should be fine. All right, so I found EDU blogs, and they offered an opportunity to have free blogs for teachers and students, so for educational purposes. And it's a great way to connect teachers and students, but you also don't have to do that. You can just use this for your own students and classes. Why is this different from maybe other blogging sites? It's safe. If you were to Google my name and even EDU blogs, nothing would come up. So a normal person cannot find these blogs, or a typical person just scouring the web. Of course, you still would want to talk to your students about the information that they share in their blogs, but there are different levels of security, so you could choose, and perhaps you'd want to do this, especially if you're working, say, with adult students. This would be a great way to actually have them practice develop their writing, their tone, their voice, their grammar skills, because it's also one of the things that we learned is that you're writing for an audience. When you're writing a blog, you know that somebody's going to read it. But there are various levels of security, so you can choose to have anybody on the web come and find them, or also not find your your blogs, as which is what I did, because it was very important for me, for my students to feel secure in their writing, and I work with younger students mostly. Besides the fact that it is safe, it also allows you to give immediate feedback to your students. So formative assessment is ongoing. It allows the students to read each other's work as well. So in this respect, they can self-evaluate. How well am I doing? How is this person doing? And they can give comments as well. Plus, that's another skill for them to learn too, is how to give feedback, constructive feedback that would help other people. Someone said that it's a free kind of writing, and to some extent it is, but it's also more than that. It's a log, it's a recorded piece. So it's like a long piece of paper that does not end. And this I found, which was most useful during the pandemic. So I decided, okay, this is what I need to use. I'm going to go ahead and do the EDU blogs. Great, sign up, piece of cake. There's even a video available. I have in my slides, which you won't see here, but I will definitely upload them into Latte so you can look on them on your own. I have all the links. And the EDU blogs has a very concise video helping you understand what is a blog and what are pages and what are posts and what are domains and how do I use these things in order to set up my blog. And in fact, this was very helpful to me because hopefully you're seeing the screen. This is what I came to when I started my blog. And I thought, well, this is not what I see. And the students, in writing their blogs, if they each individually have a blog, they also then learn to navigate this. So they're along the left-hand side, you see class. I have, each of my classes has a blog, and then for my 8th graders, I gave each student a blog. And another thing about the security was I would give them their username and password, and I can control what they write. So in comments to each other, I can allow them to go through, or I can say, you know what, this person is just writing fine, 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 fine over and over. I will have a talk with this student and let them know that that's not acceptable. That's not a comment to give. It's not feedback. And I won't even post it. Also, when we have opportunities to interact with other students and teachers from schools all over the world, if I read the comments first, and if I did not approve of the comment, then I can also not publish them. So as teacher, you have complete control, which makes it really a wonderful tool. And of course, you know, students as well as teachers often sometimes forget their passwords, maybe not often, and this allows you to know I gave each student the same password, which was just an adjective and a number combination. So students are also thinking about the transferable skills that they're learning that will help them in beyond school, beyond the class, is they're strengthening their digital competency. All right, so this is what it looks like, and you start to navigate, and then the product comes out looking something like this. As you can see here, I've actually added my own picture. You can add links, you can add video. And in fact, I will show you, for instance, with my 3rd graders, you can make each blog a little different. So this is my 3rd grade blog from the previous year. I haven't set up yet for this year. And one thing that it was important to me during the pandemic was having them feel that they were really connected to me and to each other. So I gave activities where I would ask them to call each other or to write each other. And I started off each week with the video from me. And so this is just an example. Using just some internet
Hi guys, I thought I would leave
programs, found some, again, free internet programs where I could easily record myself, and then I can add it to the blog. So each week I started, and they knew to look forward to this, to have a video of me greeting them and talking to them about all of the assignments that they had to do this week. I don't know about you. Our school sent a list of assignments for each teacher, for each grade, on an Excel worksheet each week. And parents and students had to try and keep up with this. And the first weeks, of course, were hard for us all. And in fact, I didn't use the blog for the first week. And after the first week where I was pulling my hair out with calls from parents and my also having to keep track of, I taught grades 2 through 11, 7 different grades. What did I assign and 3 times a week, and where did I assign them? Instead of going and looking for all the Excel files, it was nice and neat in each classroom blog. So again, I received the feedback that they were very thankful that all of the information from my class, at least, was in one concise place. And this served as their virtual classroom in our time away, which was until the end of the semester. Beyond that, I had students, some who just went missing in action and who didn't get in touch with me at the beginning, some who came maybe 6 weeks into the pandemic and said, oh, teacher, what have I missed for the last 6 weeks? What are these assignments you have given me? Well, I was luckily able to show them the blog and say, hey, go back. And what I did is during the time of the pandemic, you see we have the dates along the left-hand side. So besides my greeting, the dates for each week, and I'm seeing some older entries here. I'll go back and show you my 8th grade. I had the week. I had their 3 different tasks, and if I needed to, any kind of links that they have. So here was a brief explanation. I had a Zoom meeting with each of them. In this case, that was a shorter week, and I would give them their information. And also later we'll talk about summative assessments. I was able to also really utilize my blog during summative assessments. So this kept all the information from my classes in one place. They knew it would not disappear. They could come back at any time and look at it. There was a virtual meeting, greeting each week. And then, as you saw with my grade 3, I also started posting student work. Student work that also connected the students, made them feel a part of their classroom still in this crazy, unique time, and also that allowed them to see what the work was that other students were doing, and maybe how well was their work, or maybe what they could maybe have done a little better. Here's a picture by Gabriels, who I asked them to draw a picture of their room and then to describe it using certain grammar constructions that I had asked them to use. This is, there is, that is, these are. So in some cases I posted them separately. In other cases I posted them all together so they could just go and compare and be happy seeing each other's work. And sometimes it was the case where I had a student who didn't complete an assignment. And then when that student came and saw the work that the other students were saying, completing, they immediately sent me their assignment. They said, teacher, here's my assignment. And I was able to post it. I did this with the younger grades. I did this also with the older grades with their writing assignments as well. Again, going back to the 8th grade. So this is my 8th grade blog, but each of my 8th graders actually had their own blogs. I was going to show you that as well. So I'm going to move on over to that, and I will show you, for instance, Adria's blog. And we're going to talk a little bit about these 8th grade blogs in just a moment. I'm going to visit her site, and I can show you this. You don't have any information about her except that you have her first name. It could be not a correct name, but you don't have any pictures. Oh, well, there I go. I choose an example where I'm mistaken. For their last assignment, I did ask them to come up with a box of things that they could then, and they were instructed to put them into the ground and to write about thinking what people, if people find this in the future, what they imagine people in Ruta were like back in 2020 during the pandemic. But they had different other assignments as well. So you can see there weren't long writing assignments, but they were always required to read other student assignments and to give commentary to them. So this way they weren't just producing, they were also reading other people's, and they could read other people's, but they had to write their own. Most of the things they had to write about were personalized, as was spoken about in one of the sessions from earlier today. All right, I'll just check my notes real quick. So it kept everything organized, nothing was erased. There was in personal information, but only enough that could be shared with others. They could provide feedback to one another, and I could provide them feedback, and I did through the comments. I would say, hey, great job of writing, but just remember that the pronoun I is always a word, and it's capitalized in English or something like this. Again, it's free, it's safe, and I found that it was really a unifying and therefore important element to our teaching during the pandemic. Okay, I'm going to check the comments here. I saw that there were some. There are a good amount. See if there's anything that I need to answer at any time. If you can let me know if you have any questions or comments. I don't know what we're doing about time because we kind of missed about 10 minutes at the beginning. I have much more to tell you, and I will try to be concise. I will also, in my slides that you will get, you'll have my email address. You can contact me at any time if you have any questions about it. Again, the EDU blogs and everything, the links will be available to you. Okay, so this was just as a classroom tool as a teacher, and you can see my students here didn't need computers. I kept this information for them, but I also made sure at the beginning of the pandemic that their first week was just, hey, these are the tools I'm going to use, and your task is to find it online. And with the link, I provided the link, and to leave me a comment. So we worked into it through steps, and then they got into the habit and the routine to know that this is what we are going to use. With my 8th graders, it was a little different. I had already started to use blogs because we have a computer lab, or we had a computer lab in Ruta, and so I was able to go semi-regularly every other week or so to the computer. And at first we had started to use different English grammar programs, or I would have them watch a TED video and answer questions about it. Trying again to bolster their digital competency skills, which quite frankly, I found that even in the upper grades was still quite lacking. But I also started to use the blogs with them, and I learned about this thing called the Student Blogging Challenge. Now, the Student Blogging Challenge is available to anybody in the world, teachers and students, twice a year, in October, so that's coming up, and in March. And all you have to do is sign up. And then for 8 weeks, there are individual tasks for the students to complete. And in fact, here we see is the Student Blogging Challenge. And this is actually done through the EDU blogs. So EDU blogs, when I found it, was really a saving grace. So you see at the top here, we see studentchallenge.edublogs.org. And again, this will be available to you. This has been some teachers, masters of their talent there. In 2008, they were the ones who created this. So it's been ongoing, and they have really perfected an amazing 8-week challenge for students. And I found that giving my 8th graders once a week the opportunity to complete these challenges was enough, and we could still incorporate the grammar lessons that we needed to, the speaking and the listening and the reading, because as they're reading, which was another obligation of theirs, to read each other's blogs and to read student blogs from around the world, from Austria, from America, from Australia, from Thailand. And they're reading these student blogs, some who are younger, and maybe some who have even at a younger age better grammar, and others who a little older. The age range typically are from about 8 to 16 is accepted, so even 8-year-olds can do this. Now, in some schools, I know there aren't computer labs. Sometimes you have the computers you can wheel into the classroom and sign up for it, but you can also do this as a class. So you can have the teacher just sign up the class together, not individual student blogs, and then ask students to write about it or to think about it, and then either put the information together on the blog. The students still love it. They take ownership of it. It's their blog, or maybe the person who has written the most accurate blog, they get theirs solely in front there on the blog. Now, as a teacher, it's not required, but it's suggested that we sign up to also be commentators. So they have this student blogging challenge so well planned out that teachers also and other students can sign up, those who have gone through the program, and they go and read students from other countries and other schools. So this way, I was not only reading my own student blogs, I was also reading just about 6 or 7, maybe 8 other student blogs a week. But blogs, you know, are rather short. They're not particularly long pieces of writing. In some cases, they were actually having to find pictures. And it's not just where you do the writing, there was always a little bit of information. So we talked about a responsibility and plagiarism, and how you can go and find open educational resources online and use them responsibly in your blog. And so there was one week where students just had to find some pictures that reminded them of something or that told a story, but they had to be open education resources, and they had to leave a citation, which was an amazing opportunity for my students to learn about responsible research. And so it's not always just about the writing. Sometimes they had to do emojis. They had an emoji challenge one week. So it's not terribly time consuming, and I think they gained a lot. So I'm gonna pretty much wrap up this information about the blogging challenge. Again, you'll have my email address, you'll have all the links to all of this, but I want to tell you what are some of the benefits then from this blogging challenge. Well, in particular, let's talk about Adria again. This is a student whose English language skills were kind of low. Her Russian is amazing. Her Latgalian is superb. Her Latvian is beautiful. Her English, not so great in written or spoken form. And in reading 8 weeks of short writing and comments to other people and her reading other blogs, was so impressed by her growth. It was just really astounding. I had another student, Elena, an artist, and how she developed her tone of voice, which is an important but a challenging thing for students to do when they're writing in a language that is not their native language, to develop the ability for us to hear the tone of that voice, meaning beyond the words and the grammar, or perhaps how those come together, is how excited that student is, or angry, or bored. It was just really, wow. I mean, she just developed her perhaps creative writing, but overall her writing skills. So grammar, writing is developed. Again, providing feedback to one another, learning how to provide constructive feedback, which is helpful in the classroom and outside the classroom. And then digital competency. Whew. I mean, learning how to navigate this, the blogs. Again, what they see is something that does not resemble what you and I think of perhaps as a blog. And then, of course, they can go and see the beautiful work that they put together. So it's really fabulous. All right, I don't know how much time I have left. Again, we started 10 minutes late. I'm hoping we will end 10 minutes late as well. I have one more piece of the puzzle that I would like to share with you. I've let go all of my slides and my notes, but it is about summative assessments. So I was really looking in this time of pandemic what to do about summative assessments. I went online, I was reading articles or other teachers who were going through it before Latvia was going through it, and people are saying, you have to face the facts. They have resources available. It's not like when you're in the classroom and you can see them, and you know that they don't have any books or calculators or whatever they might need. Here, they're on their own, and their parents might not be around. Some people definitely had parents who were kind of paying attention to what their students were doing. And again, with my blog, my classroom blog, I always made sure I think it was each week, I wrote a short email. I would just copy and paste it from A classes. So I just changed a little bit because I always had a Zoom meeting as well, so I could see them face to face and get them to talk to me, and so they could see each other. I had the blog and a blogging assignment, or assignment that would go into the blog, and then I had a third assignment that might have been a book assignment. But nonetheless, each week I would just copy and paste this for 7 classes, so it takes maybe a half an hour to send it out. I really copy and pasting and just changing a few little details. And so the parents were always invited, come, look and see what your children are doing. It's here in the blog. And I think that really the parents appreciated that. And they could also see what the students were doing. So when it was time for the tests, the parents were also aware of that. And despite my stern warnings, I'm sure that some students, so I knew that the students would have access to other things. I tried various means of assessments, and I realized that I could use the blog in that way. So for my 8th graders who had their own blog posts, this was the writing portion, because for a test I have the grammar, I try to have some speaking, and I have writing so that they're using the grammar and they're putting it into a particular context that is related to our theme of that unit. So this would be, depending upon our conversation earlier, it's a formative assessment because it's not the end of the year or the end of the semester, although we did have that here as well. But it's summative, it's conclusion of a unit of learning. So they should be demonstrating, hopefully, that they have gained knowledge and mastered perhaps a skill that I was teaching them. So for instance, for my 8th graders, we'll bring up another one so we're not just picking on poor Adria, who's an amazing student. And I'll show you this one right here. Actually, we'll go to Christoph's very quickly. We'll visit his site. So I had them, we were talking about the future, and we had to talk about the different ways we have of speaking about the future, speaking particularly about specific things that were going to be happening or that were happening, so short-term and long-term goals. And in fact, I had some teachers from around the world, those who were in charge of the blogging challenge, those that had been the ones to establish the blogging challenge, they kept their eye on things and made sure, everything was clean and done according to the plan for the blogging challenge. And they had seen some of these extra assignments that weren't a part of their blogging challenge, and they really made some nice comments about appreciating them. So I had the students write 2 paragraphs for the written portion of their test, and one was about short-term goals. So I am going shopping, I am watching Netflix, I am eating pizza tomorrow, and then I had them do some long-term goals. So this is what I plan on doing. I will go to college, I will go to university, I will be a professional football player and have you. This then also, in my blog, the classroom blog, for these particular students who had their own blogs, I had the criteria. So the specific criteria, the snieguma I menu operaxts, where they could go, and it was always available to them and their parents, so they could see why the grade was such that it was that they had gotten. Also, the assignment was there, didn't get erased, so they could go back and consult it. What was that I had to do? What part of what did I have to do? So I'd also have students call me at home for a brief conversation on the telephone so I could get their speaking up. So it usually had 3 parts: grammar, writing, and speaking. Okay, so this was for a group of students who had their own blogs, but I had also 6th graders, and the 6th graders did not have their own blogs. I knew that this would be too much for me. So instead, with the 6th graders, I came up with a newspaper. And you can see I have all of my blogs clear in one place. I just have to toggle between a few screens. And the 6th graders, we ended up coming up with a newspaper. So I'm going to visit that site. And we had done a theme on newspaper articles and what those consist of, what kind of grammar you should be using, and what you write at the beginning, and so for the structure, really. We had analyzed and looked at some from a textbook. We'd looked at some online together in a Zoom, and then it was their task to write a newspaper assignment. And then I thought, you know, what a great way. Let's just have our own little Ruta Times. So we came up with a newspaper, and here I put each student's newspaper article. And then when we were done, I invited the parents to also come read, and the students got to go and see their own. So if you click on each student, you can come, and some of them sent it in picture form, and that was totally fine. You can come here, you can still see it, and you have the author's name. And that was absolutely fine, and I accepted that too. Other people went all out. Let me show you a student who, there's an awesome student newspaper. So this student really, oh, there we go, developed her digital competency and came up with her own little newspaper story to have here. If we look under enable editing, hopefully you see this along with me. She came up with a great page for a newspaper with an article and other updates as well. So that was another summative assessment at the end of a chapter on newspaper articles, structure, and also there was particular grammar wrapped up in that. With my 5th graders, we participated in the reading circle. I see that I have a little check. I'm just wondering where we're doing on time. 5 minutes left. Thank you very much. Oh my, I hope I haven't gone over. I'm going to finish this up. Anyhow, I was able to share student work in so many different ways, audio recordings, art that they had done, and it was very helpful for summative assessments. The criteria was there and everyone could see. So I have apparently run over. I'm very sorry for that. Blogging, 3 different ways. You don't each need a computer. You can use it as a classroom tool. I'm going to use it from here on out with all my classes. If you have the opportunity of giving your students some computers, they can have their own blogs. The blogging challenge, it's open every year, March and October. Give it a try. It's wonderful. 8 weeks, that's all of a time commitment. And finally, summative assessments. If they're going to, if you need a place for them to do some writing and you need to capture it and they can't be in front of you, this is a great way. Thank you so much. I appreciate your being here, and I hope that you have enjoyed this. Please contact me if you have any questions, and I'm very sorry that it was a little spastic and not so perfect. Thank you.